congratulations from my heart to yours as a person who teaches at TC3. This is such a big honor, and we love our alumni. So you are the distinguished alumni who are here, and we are celebrating with you. We wish it could be in person, but I want to thank you all. And I'm going to start just in alphabetical order here. So with Marci Canico-Bello, I want to thank you. You were graduated in 2009. And you were in creative writing, and that's such a wonderful thing. First of all, what are you doing with that career?
So I am a published poet. I have one chapbook, which is like a half book of poetry, one full-length book of poetry, which won a really big award. And this June, I actually have a book of poetry translations from Korean into English that's coming out. And I'm working on my second manuscript. And I get to work in the literary field, helping other writers through Miami Book Fair, which is an 8-day festival here in Miami, Florida. And my job is literally to read books and know what's coming out and being published in the field, and to just be able to put together panels and bring authors to the community and into schools. And it's a dream job for me, honestly.
That's awesome. Well, how did your experience at Tompkins Cortland help you in your career?
Honestly, I think I give TC3 a lot of credit. I think so. I was homeschooled all 12 years of my grade school education. No other college would take me. They didn't know what to do with me. I had never been in a classroom before, and the English professor, Lisa Ford, was like, well, I'll take you in my class and you can sit in and get acclimated before I graduated. And I loved it. And I was like, oh, I think I can do this. And everyone was really friendly. They weren't weird about me being in the classroom and never having done any of this stuff before. And then they accepted me to do an AA, and everything, honestly. Like, I got to try so many things that I never thought I would be interested in. I still remember my statistics class and my French class and karate and all these things that I didn't think I would ever use in the future, but I still use the same notes. When I transferred, I was tutoring other people with the statistic notes I took with Nancy Putnam's class. And as you can tell, I can still remember the teachers' names. That's how memorable the classes were. I made some of my best friends in the classes and sat in the library, pulled all-nighters. It's so something about the community is a gem that I think is completely underrated by so many outside of the community, but there's so many ties to it. And it really prepared me for the future of just, what do I do next? What do I do with a creative writing degree? What are the options if I want to publish? Oh, there's grad school. Oh, I can do grad school. Let me plan for that. I used to go into my advisor's office and be like, what do I do with these schedules? I have 3 different options for this semester. And they would take the time and sit with me. And Ron Starmer was my advisor, and he became a lifelong mentor and friend, and just really incredible people that I still return to their examples for teaching when I teach my own students these days. When I'm remembering how to revise any poem, I still think about, like, what about papers? How did I do those? And, bump up grades. And how did I make friends? That sort of thing just still continues with me. And I still keep in touch with a lot of different people. And so the TC3 community is really dear to me. And I really do owe the professors and the students and the whole college community my whole jump start, honestly, for everything I've been able to do since.
Wow. I gave you this much and you went here, and I can't thank you enough. We need to put you on a commercial. And Nancy's still here, and she's still loving what she's doing. So I have to tell her what you said, because she's going to feel so very good about that. Thank you so much.
Tell her she saved my life because I used to tutor for food.
I'll tell her she'll be so happy. I'll tell her she will be so happy. Crystal, same question to you. You graduated in 2005 in graphic design. It was Donna Manier back then. I remember Donna very well. And, I know you very well, Crystal, because you're tutoring our students right now. And I just sent some to you, by the way. They're going to be asking you for help with their fonts. How did your experience at TC3 help you with what you're doing now, aside from the teaching that you're doing with us, what you do outside of the college and within the college?
So my experience at TC3, it's more or less like I've come home. So when I was first starting out, I always knew that I wanted to do art, and I thought graphic design was it. I had no actual concept outside of that. So while I was there pursuing my degree, I started to discover that there was more to it. So after I got my graphic design degree, I went on and dabbled in illustration and then into new media, which dips back into graphic design, into experimental video, and I went on and got my master's in motion picture and television, and now I've returned home. So I'm like back at the beginning, and feel like I'm bringing all those experiences and explorations back with me to help support the students that might have been in the same position where they need guidance, or somebody who's been there, or gain a perspective that they don't have yet. So I really enjoyed my time at TC3. Again, I met some of my best friends there. We're still in contact. Some of us are still working in the field. Others are, one of them is in editing she's a copy editor. Another one went on to become a English teacher. An English teacher. So we're all kind of like dabbling in different things now, here and there. I actually share an art space with one of them. He went into like screen printing, and we went to SUNY Cortland together. So there's like this really strong sense of community there. Like once you find your people, then you're good. And I felt like a lot of support from the college. And it's just like coming home.
It does feel good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And students now rely heavily on you. So that's a wonderful thing too, because you know what it was like to be in their shoes.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I felt were lacking when I was a student there, and this is more or less just like an arts community thing, is where are the opportunities, and where can I build and create opportunities for like our creatives at TC3, Tompkins Cortland Community College. So, I just find projects, or I make projects happen. For example, I do the Creative Cortland exhibition in the winter. This year was a little strange with the pandemic, but I managed to pull it off, and had several Tompkins Cortland students exhibit, and we did live artist talks using social media. So just making those opportunities happen and connecting them with opportunities that are more specific to a student and their interests is like a passion of mine.
And Jason Sidle, you were a little bit back further. You graduated in December of '94 in hotel technology. And what's interesting to me is all three of you stayed true to form to what you studied. You're doing what you studied as careers. So, how did your experience at TC3 help you with the career?
So first and foremost, thank you for the reminder of how old I am, Professor X. I appreciate that.
More experienced. That's
experience. All. I'm just leveling up every year now. Looking back, the fact that I did graduate, in the 90s has allowed me to really kind of look back after understanding and hearing that I had the chance to be a distinguished alumni, and been a lot of contemplation. But one of the really great parts, and one of the things I love the most about it, is the fact that I've come completely full circle in my current job as the Director of Operations at Cultivare, which is TC3's culinary center. So to think, 25 plus years ago, I started my venture at TC3, and to think back then that I would have been doing this now, it would have never come to mind. I never would have thought that this is what I would have been doing, but I absolutely love it. I love my current role at TC3. And again, looking back, one of the things I've really been able to realize is that TC3 really kind of gave me my initial foundation. It gave me my initial foundation of how important learning is. It really helped me develop a strong sense of developing a strong work ethic and kind of a strong sense of self. In those college years, a lot of times we're really kind of discovering who we are as young adults. And looking back, those years at TC3 were vital to me in my future opportunities and successes, because I was able to build a really strong foundation with a small core of advisors and professors. And it really helped me see like the true opportunities that I had ahead of myself, whereas prior to going to TC3 and being around such wonderful and amazing people, I wasn't really sure like where I was going to go and what opportunities I even had to try to reach in my future. And going to TC3 really kind of allowed me to see that, and it really helped me develop into, the young man that I ultimately, and grew into an older man, and just really was able to maintain my professionalism, creating relationships. It was great when I got to come back and start working at Cultivare, because I actually got to then become colleagues with people who were my professors and my advisors, people like John Martindale, Larry Chase, Jorge Huaca, who was my advisor. And those people played a key role in my education at TC3, and then my education at Rochester Institute of Technology, where I went afterwards. And then John Martindale was actually someone who I kind of went back to over the years, and he helped convince me to go back to earn my master's degree, which I ended up doing that as well. And then to be able to be colleagues and to demonstrate through my efforts and my work efforts of all of the things I learned, and to take the foundation I learned all those years ago to bring it to Cultivare. And now I'm actually helping other students create their foundations. It means the world to me. It really means the world to me. I absolutely love the opportunity. One of the things I learned at TC3 all those years ago, and I've helped incorporate, is to have a personal mission statement. And my personal mission statement is to help is to help touch the lives of my family, friends, coworkers, and acquaintances in a positive way, so that they can maintain a positive attitude for the rest of their lives. And all of that started with my foundation at TC3.
Well, and you clearly do that. I know that because I know so many of the students who come through your program, and just people who enjoy the restaurant.
Thank you.
Is pretty darn incredible. One of the things I'm hearing all three of you say, though, is that you started at the college and you all, pursued higher education above and beyond TC3. And, that's a pretty amazing thing for all three of you. I mean, kudos to all of you. It's so hard to just earn, an associate's degree itself. It's so hard to stay in college. So all of you did so well with that, and then to continue on and then to work within your field. So what advice do you all have for others who want to set off in a similar direction? And Crystal, I'm going to start with you this time.
Absolutely. Do your research and make your decisions calmly and with the right research. So one of the things that I experienced was I didn't have much direction because art can be so much. So one of the reasons why I love my role at TC3 is now I'm teaching courses for non-artists, which is awesome. I love reconnecting people with their creativity and building confidence and bringing that creativity into your daily life. But I can also, students trust me during some of these tutoring sessions, like, what should I do next? And I get to know them and understand what their interests are, and kind of get a sense of an idea of a direction to point them in, just because just connecting with the students and knowing that, like, I wish I had that person and I wish that I had known what kind of questions to ask when I was younger. Like connecting with the students in that way, I feel is really it enriches my life, but also enriches theirs, because I can give them the guidance that I wish that I had at that point in time with arts, but because art is such an interesting field that's always in flux. Yeah, I think being able to help guide in addition to all of their instructors is really a wonderful experience.
And I heard all three of you say that, because those connections, whether you're talking about those old instructors you had or connections today, the new ones that you're making, Crystal, are so important, because students don't know what they don't know, and they don't know the questions to ask. And having those mentorships, having those connections really help you to form those relationships, so you can just have those casual conversations where those things kind of come up inside of class. I know, at least I find that very valuable with my students. And I know, talking to graduates as they've moved on, go, that conversation we had over lunch or that conversation we had here really helped me later. So I'm so glad you're there to have those conversations with students now, Crystal. That's a wonderful thing. Marci, let's jump in with you. Same question. What advice would you give for others who want to set off right now and maybe creative writing? What would you say to them?
I would say two things. The first is you really get out of life and education what you put into it. So I totally second what Crystal just said. Ask questions, do your research, and you don't know what you don't know. So you know the people who know, though, and that's the wonderful thing about the Tompkins Cortland community is that all of these people are incredibly knowledgeable. And I mean, my advisor probably got sick of me by the end of my 2 years, because I was in his office almost every day asking questions. He would give me stacks of books to read instead of answering questions. And trying everything. You never know what could help your research. You never know what can happen if you're open to it. And then the second thing I would say, which is what I have learned in retrospect from years at TC3 and beyond, is that there's no such thing as failure unless you really are totally giving up, especially in my field, in creative writing. I had a future professor who said, everything is just a draft until you die. And I think that if you look at startup business companies, they take everything as feedback. Any kind of failure is just like, oh, this is not the right product for this audience yet. Let's see how we can incorporate the feedback and really give people what they want. Or let's re-envision what we were thinking and see how to incorporate those changes. And the same thing with creative writing, honestly, is that you think that you're writing the most brilliant idea and it might be trash. Or you might think that this is just a side project and it's going to win the Pulitzer. And I mean, Stephen King wrote a lot of mediocre stuff, but he also wrote a lot of brilliant stuff. And, he just kept going. And I remember Ron Starmer would tell me after everything, he would give me some pretty bad grades and say, keep at it. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I may not be able to do the right thing right away perfectly all the time, but I can keep going. And you just keep incorporating feedback and you learn, and you keep moving forward. And instead of calling it failure, call it process. Call it learning curve, call it anything but failure. And it helps your soul from being crushed, first of all. And second, it gives you a little bit of energy to keep going and finding other people to encourage you along the way, whether that's a mentor or a friend who's in a similar boat. We have rejection parties sometimes as poets who we just sort of sit around and be like, where did you get rejected from? Oh, what application did you send in? And that really does make a difference. I think you can't change what you can't change, but you can change your attitude. And sometimes that can go a really long way in persevering and being a resilient person. And that goes beyond creative writing. I've learned that in the day-to-days of working and just being in relationships with people too, and being a citizen of the world. Yeah.
Oh, Marci, I'm bringing you in to come and talk to all of my classes from here on out. You are my number one person. They need to hear it from you. All right, Jason, same question to you. What advice would you have for others who want to set off and work in the world of, culinary and management and all that stuff within the restaurants?
My initial advice really is you just got to plug your nose and you got to jump into the deep end and you just got to do it. You have to pull the trigger. Of course, there's going to be questions and to emulate with Crystal and Marci, I mean, you should do some research and know what it is you want to try to do and where your focus should be. But at the same time, you got to go for it. I mean, especially in the culinary world, I mean, we're a world of doers, movers and shakers. And, you got to just kind of submerge yourself into the world, into the education world. And just go for it. Be your biggest advocate. Ask questions. Don't be shy. And really just kind of like invest in yourself. I mean, again, to copy what Marci said, you get out of it what you put into it. So it's definitely one of the things I learned in junior colleges is you are your best advocate. And you do have to put forward your best foot at all times. But you also have to go and talk to the advisors. You have to ask questions to your professors. And you just really have to invest in yourself, put in the time, put in the efforts. And then at the time also when you have the opportunity to be successful and you do good on a test, reward yourself, feel good about it, but at the same time, learn for when you fail the quiz or when you're late to class or it's a snow day and your school's canceled and you still drive to campus anyways because you didn't get the message. I mean, these are all parts of the experience. And to me, it's the experience that you're really trying to go after, because as much as you learn in whatever it is you're studying, one of the main parts you're learning, and one of the things I know I always learned the most about was you're just learning about people. You're learning about relationships and you're learning about how to navigate through the early world of being, a person that's going from their late teens into their early 20s into true adulthood. And by submersing yourself into the education world, into TC3's world, the hospitality world, that's what you're doing. You're becoming an expert on people. And that in and of itself will take you a long way. And then again, just the last little piece is just invest in yourself. You are your biggest advocate. And to make sure that you put as much time and effort into your own self as you wish other people would put into you as well, because nobody's going to do it better than your own self.
Jason, you brought up something so important. I always tell students, I'm not smarter than anybody else. I just wanted it more, and I was willing to stick it out longer. And I think college is really that. It's an endurance test as much as anything else. So, you brought up something really important. All three of you have been to other institutions after you left TC3. What would you say to somebody to encourage them to choose TC3 to be their starting point, to start their education with us? I'm going to start with you, Jason.
So being a local Ithacan, I grew up in Ithaca. And again, this is going back again, unfortunately, to the early 90s. TC3 wasn't looked at locally as a great opportunity. It just wasn't. Especially when growing up, you always hear people talking about Cornell University and Ithaca College. And, being with the background I was in, Cornell and Ithaca College just weren't really an option. So my option was to start at TC3. And one of the things I found right off the bat was many of the professors at TC3 are actually people who have either graduated from or also work and teach at both Ithaca College and Cornell University. So the level of education you're getting for the amount of money that you're spending, I don't know if you can get a better value, to be honest with you. I mentioned a couple of people in my previous question, John Martindale and Jorge Huaca. They both graduated from Cornell's hotel school. They both went on to amazing professional careers, and they both had opportunities to come back and teach at Cornell. And instead, they chose TC3. And as I was older and when I started working at Cultivari and was working with them, I actually asked them both, why would they choose that route versus working for, the hotel school at Cornell is world renowned. And they both said because they wanted to impact people's lives in a more specific way. And to me, that's really what you're getting when you're at TC3. You're having people who are really investing in you and who care about you. And you're going to, even as a student, you're going to develop relationships with some of your professors, with some of your advisors, with some of your mentors that are going to last a lifetime, even if right now it doesn't seem like it, because I didn't think that either. And here I am, literally a coworker with people who were advising me when I was 18 and 19 years old. And it just makes me so happy. It makes me so proud to be an alumni of TC3. And it just makes me so happy and proud to be able to also continue to pass that on through being an employee of TC3 now at this point in my career. And to be honest, I don't think I would change a thing.
Crystal, I'm going to jump over to you. Same question. What would you say to encourage somebody to start their education with us at Tompkins Cortland Community College?
Well, you can't really pursue more without a solid foundation. So for me, I'm from Cortland, New York originally. Same thing. I didn't really want to go anywhere else yet because I didn't have, a concept or a grander ambition right out of high school. So I ended up going to Tompkins Cortland and cultivating some of the best relationships that I have with my peers. Even today, like I said, we stay in touch and we're constantly checking in with each other and celebrating our successes. And without that foundation, I wouldn't have been able to pursue more and understand what I wanted to pursue. Some of the classes that I had taken at Tompkins Cortland, for example, I took illustration back in the day and I thought I wanted to be an illustrator. So I studied illustration for a while. And then, it evolved. And again, reframing failure because I really love that. And it's one of the things I stress to my students now is every single thing that you do in your life is building towards something. Even if you're working in customer service, like I was a barista while I was in college, all of those things that you experience is helping cultivate you into like a better person and able to, deliver a better product, whatever that product might be. At that time, it was a latte, and being able to build those relationships with customers helped me understand how to communicate with people. As students, like so much of this stuff overlaps in ways that you wouldn't really realize. But just the foundation that I got really helped me with my confidence to move forward. And even if I hit a wall and felt like, I had failed at some point, it's easier to fall back on that foundation and realize that, no, this is just a rough draft. This is just the creative process. And just keep going, like figure out what you want because you have the solid foundation to back you up.
It's wonderful. And I agree with it 100%. Those life experiences are everything within there. And Marci, I'm going to end on the same question with you. So what would you say to encourage someone to choose Tompkins Cortland for the start of their education?
I would say that one of the greatest gifts that Tompkins Cortland gave me was the power of and. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a fantasy writer and write novels. And when I went to college, I didn't have time to invest the kind of energy and drive into finishing a short story, honestly. And I mean, I was also working and going to school full time, and I was thinking, this is what I want to do. And I remember professors being like, why can't you do more? Like, why can't you do this and something else, right? Like, I was like, I'm really interested in psychology. I loved all my psychology classes, but I also knew I wanted to be a writer. And they were like, why don't you just try both? And it had never occurred to me because everyone kept telling me my whole life, you should pick something, you should do something, and being a writer is your thing. But I graduated with a general studies AS with a focus in psychology because there wasn't a full-on associates in psychology at the time. At the same time that I had the creative writing AA. And then when I transferred, I was told to choose between psychology or creative writing in order to graduate on time when I transferred. And then in grad school, it got even more specific. But I found that I was always falling back on that TC3 foundation of and when I was doing my senior thesis when I transferred to Carnegie-Mellon University for creative writing, and I was doing a senior project, and they said you can do fiction or poetry, and I was like, why can't I do both? and the professors were like, well, you can, but nobody's done it well. And I was like, watch me. It was not good, but it was bad. It was good advice from them and a bad choice for me, but they let me do it because I wanted to try it, and I did it. And the poetry half ended up being my chapbook. And then the fiction half I just kind of tossed, but I could say I had done it. And at least I knew that was not going to work, but I had done it myself, and nobody could tell me without me learning on my own. And I learned many valuable lessons. In fact, I learned I am not a fiction writer. And that also was a great thing. And so I always think about the professors, their voices are in the back of my head saying, why not try both? Why can't you find that third way? Why is there only ever two options? Why are people always trying to narrow you down into a box? And for someone who doesn't really fit into any assumed box from other people, I make my own boxes and then I step outside of them. And honestly, that's from my most formative college years at TC3, where professors were like, yes, and you can do it all. If you have the energy, you can do it. In my last semester, I signed up for 22 credits, and I had a part-time job and an internship, and nobody said anything. They just let me sign up for it. You know, they're like, it's your money and your time, and if you want to try it, try it. And if you fail, at least you tried it. And I think that honestly is one of the things that TC3 is really, really good at, is showing so many possibilities where other people are trying to shut doors. They're always saying, here's another door. What about this one? And we'll help you walk through it and unlock it for you if you really want to commit to it. And it's international. I met so many students from all over the world, and bringing their expertise, not just the professors and all of that. I mean, it is, as I said, a hidden gem that I think is incredibly underrated. And it doesn't really matter if you start out somewhere higher. It matters what you do with the education that you commit to. So I honestly, that's the most valuable thing that I would say to encourage somebody. TC3 is a great choice. It's a brilliant choice. And I'm really, really grateful for it.
And I think you have taught us the power of and today, because, we used to do this with maybe one, maybe two distinguished alumni. And I think the and of having three amazing alumni who seem like they're from very different backgrounds, but you're honestly from very similar backgrounds. And here's my connection of the and. You're all creative, and you're all creative in this very unique way. Crystal, of course, is with the graphic arts. You're with the creative writing, and Jason with this very creative element with the food. And I have seen that you guys have built this amazing life for yourselves, starting with something by pushing so hard, by saying, okay, I've got this education and I am going to make something of it. I'm going to get teary because that's what I do, because I'm so impressed with all of you. And I'm blessed to be able to share this experience with you today. So I'm speaking for the entire college when I say we're honored to have you all as our distinguished alumni. So thank you all. I'm sorry I get so emotional, but I'm emotional because you're so profound. You said it so eloquently there, Marci, but you said it for everybody. TC3 is a great place, but you all are great because you do what you should do with what you've been given. And look at how you just said it so beautifully. And so many students who are graduating today, when they're watching this, they're going to be the next Hughes. They're going to be the next ones going out and doing exactly what you guys are doing. And so yay for lighting the way for them and for showing them the sky's the limit. Yes, and. So thank you all on behalf
Thank
of
you,
TC.
Chris. Thank you so
Congratulations.
much.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, I'm so happy for you guys.